Let's leave Trey Turner hanging and get into Alec Bohm here because I think this is a fascinating one. I am excited to see where you go here, Renee. If Weston Wilson was your highest grade. Look, I know there's a recency bias with the way the season ended, but let us not forget, Alec Bohm was probably the team's most consistent hitter from start to finish on the year. 143 games played, 280 slash line, 332, 448, a 117 OPS plus, 15 home runs, 97 RBIs, 61 extra base hits, only 5 stolen bags. He's not fast. Tied for fourth in doubles in Major League Baseball. And that's the thing with Alec Bohm. You know, there was hope with that body and frame that he was going to be able to add some power and become a 25 home run guy. That's not going to happen. What he needs to do is exactly what he did this year, and that's to become a consistent line drive doubles hitter. Feed those gaps, and I do not think he's a 4-hole hitter. I do not think that's where he's best fit. I would ideally say he's probably a great 5-hole hitter, but 4, I think he's out of place on this team. It's hard for me to be too negative. I know it didn't end well. But, you know, as we talked about, he raised, and albeit slightly in most of these, but pretty much every offensive category, he slightly improved on from the year before. Batting average, on base, slugging, OPS, they all pretty much improved a little bit, but was consistent. Consistency is valuable, and I think Alec Bohm is consistent. Does he freak out and spaz out and throw his helmet and maybe wear his emotions on his sleeve a little bit too much? I think that's what Rob Thompson and the staff was telling you at the end of the year. He is prone to slumps, but guess what? Newsflash, all Major League Baseball players are. I gave Alec Bohm an A-. You know, defensively, he is what he is. He's never going to become a power guy, but I thought it was overall a really good year for Alec Bohm, so I'm going to give him an A-. Ice Queen, the floor is yours.
Professor Fluff, an A-?
Yeah. I mean, the guy, you know, it's good numbers. Do I want his on base over 300? Yeah, I would love his on base over 300. But you know, when you're putting up the numbers he did, 99 RBIs or 97 RBIs in back-to-back years, fourth in doubles. Defensively, I'm not going to roast him because he's improved and he is what he is. So, yeah, I think it's for what Alec Bohm is supposed to be on this team. I think that's a really nice season from him. What do you got?
Okay. So
daggers out.
Pew, pew, pew. All right. So again, although I look at the postseason with a bigger weight.
Mickey Durkin does say the best hair on the team. So, I mean, does that count for anything in your grade book?
I'm not grading based off style. Hair doesn't win baseball games. But yes, if we're going off of vibes and style, it's a whole different grading criteria. For Alec Bohm, as you mentioned, did finish off the season fourth in doubles across Major League Baseball, top 20 in RBIs, finished third in walks. And he, as we know, Mr. Home Run Derby himself, an all-star. He did absolutely take a major step forward this season. You saw the maturity, you saw the growth, at least in most of the season. He had a career high with his doubles, his .779 OPS, and have over a 300. He was a 300 batting average. I'm sorry, over 300 batting average with runners in scoring position. That was one of the areas that he thrived for this team until he didn't, unfortunately. So you saw a huge step for him to be someone you can rely on in big moments that would be able to get you an RBI, find the gaps. It wasn't a lot of home runs for Alec Bohm, which is ironic that he was in the home run derby, but it was him being able to just get doubles, get singles, whatever it took to help this team score. And so for Alec Bohm, that is something that I thought was a huge improvement for him, that he could be the guy that kind of filled in the gaps. You weren't going to get home runs from him, but you were going to get RBIs. And when you look at how he started off the season, 28 RBIs in the month of April, 17 in May, 21 in June. But then in total, from July, August, and September, Alec Bohm hit a total of 29 RBIs in those 3 months. So that is what he brought to this team. He was the guy that was able to help when you had runners in scoring position, drive runners home, and then once July hit, he no longer was able to do that. Of course, as a result, his numbers did drop as well. September, we know he was dealing with the wrist injury, the hand injury.
Yeah.
So for September to be having a split of 170, 204, 298 with a .502 OPS, you can justify that. he wasn't, maybe you're not fully 100%. Maybe it was going to take him time to get back. But of course, the other concern was him getting benched game 2 of the NLDS, the emotions we saw throughout that. And I chopped it up to his youth. I chopped it up to him just needing to learn how to better manage his emotions. And if you can bottle that passion in a more productive way, so rather than slamming your helmet, throwing your bat, the very obvious frustrations, bottle it and use it in a different way. I don't mind the passion because I wish there were more guys on this team that showed some life, some energy, some pulse, some passion. But he did, of course, struggle in the postseason. And in his 13 at-bats across the NLDS, had just one hit, one of those other guys that was giving you zeros across the board. One hit, one walk in his 13 at-bats across the 4 games in the NLDS. We saw him. I think the reason I also, outside of his stats, graded him lower is when you look at, especially in the NLDS, I think back to game 2 when he was brought in off the bench and swung at the very first pitch. There were moments that Alec Bohm, I felt like almost not gave up, but was careless. And you'd have whoever was batting before him give you a really good deep, amount of pitches that they were able to rattle off. They were patient, or it'd be an opportunity where you see guys getting on base. And then to me, I felt like Alec Bohm started bailing teams out. So the guy that was getting you RBIs and great with runners in scoring position in the beginning of the season then became the guy that when he stepped up with runners on was bailing opponents out by just swinging at anything. And it was kind of like, oh well. Pop up, oh well, I tried, and it just, something changed. I don't know what happened, but mentally, emotionally, something changed with Alec Bohm. All that to say, I give him a C. I think that you cannot have, I don't mind you struggling. I know. I don't mind you struggling because Bryce Harper had some slumps as well. But the way that he just changed and became this careless, almost nonchalant, kind of going through the motions.
I'm never sending my kids to LaSalle University to take Professor Washington's classes. That's going to sink their GPA.
It's no wonder your one student never came back.
Okay, Tyler. I think he took major strides, and I thought he was phenomenal for the first half of the season.
80%.
But from July on, he just became this guy that you never know what you were going to get from Alec Bohm.
No equity with Professor Washington.
He was very inconsistent.
Wow.